It's a pleasure for me to talk to you a little bit about what we're doing and what we're up to and how we've, over the last 10 years, been implementing the circular economy in our projects. We got to know William McDonough in 2006, and in the last 10 years, we've developed now over 1 million square meters of real estate, specifically from the principles of cradle to cradle in the circular economy. And I can tell you it's the most profitable stock in our portfolio, so it really does make very good business sense to be doing this, and that's what I'll go talk to you about today. So what we specialize in is primarily large-scale area transformations, and the one that I'll tell you at the very end is about 3.5 square kilometers. The one that I'll tell you in the beginning, it's about 5.5 hectares. So what we're actually doing is really building systems. We're actually building communities. And so if we look at kind of where we want to start with this, our always starting point needs to be from our intentions. So what are our intentions as people, as communities, not just developers, which is looking at the bottom line, but what is it that we actually want to create for our community? If I then put these two pictures up in front of you and I said, hey, pick one, which would you like? Nobody in their sane mind would say, I want to go for the kids picking rare earth metals out of computer parts and fishing plastic out of the sea and having toxic air quality in their inner cities. No, everybody says we want to do the top. So how are we designing our systems and what are our intentions? Are our intentions to be the top? Yes, I think we are, but I think that our intentions now are a bit mismatched with what our design actually is. So, okay, if we look at this on kind of a global scale of what we're looking at now, we still have a number of huge, significant challenges, and our system is designed us to go into this direction. So if I'm doing my job right, my buildings should produce more clean, renewable energy than they consume. I say clean, so burning's not an option. Our drinking water that exits the building should be cleaner than the drinking water that comes in, and when we take apart our buildings and deliver them back, what we deliver back to our communities is healthy, safe topsoil in better conditions than we took it at for farmland. That is our design intention at the Delta Development Group. And this is what we've been actively trying to do and doing for the last decade now. The park I'll tell you about first is Park 2020. You can see it here. It's about 92,000 square meters of built space located by Amsterdam's airport. It's a public open space. I welcome any of you that are passing through Holland and Amsterdam to come visit me over there. It's set up by 3 primary partners. That's us, that's the Holland's second largest construction company called Volker Wessels, and a private equity firm called the Regenboor Group, and we all have put our money into this. A couple of housekeeping facts. The money there is about $350 million. It's taken to put this thing together. It's 92,000 square meters of workspace. It's a full-service park, so there's amenities in there as well, lots of hotel, and we've actually built the entire design principles based on the cradle to cradle. William McDonough is the master planner. He's the architect of every building that we've done, and he works with us on a number of projects across the EU. So here are a few pictures of our park that we're building. This is not sketch design. These are actually real buildings here. This is the inside of Bosch Siemens, a huge lung in the atrium. You can see here that those are solar panels on the top, building integrated photovoltaics that we're doubling as the sunscreens in the large atrium. This large lung is a major part of the HVAC systems where every morning the employees of Bosch Siemens come in with fresh, clean air because we filtered out all of the air through the central atrium every night. This is the head of the Players Union for professional football players, that's soccer players. What we're seeing here is that our sites and our buildings are deeply integrated with each other. The facade of this building has been designed completely to be taken apart. It's all a click system of tiles, ceramic tiles, and those tiles can actually go back safely to Mosa, Royal Mosa tiles when they're done. And this is one, now we have the entire land position on the 5.5 hectares. We're about 50% done right now. And so as an option, we have to pay the municipality every year for the right to carry that land, and we do so in terms of taxes, so on and so forth. So we went into negotiations with them, and we actually said, hey, can we take the money that we're going to give you for the land and instead reinvest it into creating some community practices? And so we went with an organization called the Vlinderstichting. It's the Netherlands. That means the Butterfly Association. Even the butterflies have their own association in my country. And what we found was that there were actually 3 critically endangered species of butterfly to the Haarlemmermeer. So what we did here was we built our entire park over here, which is a huge breeding ground for these critically endangered species of butterfly. You might have noticed that we had an award for the American Association for Landscape Architects. We actually scrapped that landscaping package and re-implemented an entire landscaping package for breeding grounds and targets for these butterflies. And now we have a program going with the local elementary schools where they're learning about these butterflies and visiting our park. It's really fantastic. And on the other side of the greenhouse there, that is an active working greenhouse. This is Hans. He's our local farmer. And we also took the money and we put it into a social farm. And the farm grows all of the food that actually goes into our restaurant every day. And we works together with Chef Nico to actually design the menus. It's a seasonal menu. It's also a working program for people with slight handicaps that have trouble getting work. For refugees are also working at this park. For people, elderly people that are moving into senior centers and have lost their garden, they can come and work here as well too. And we pay all of these people. It costs us about $50,000 a year, but it's not about the money. It's about really creating community here. And this is one of the most important aspects of our park. This is our latest building, the latest building we just delivered. It is a sketchwork. It's called Plantronics. It's a real leap forward in our active working communities and how we're actually using the building as a tool for corporate performance. And this is a beautiful building that's in construction right now. It's called the Now Building, and this whole ceramic facade is covered with a coating that's actually a binding catalyst to remove CO2 out of the air. But this is also one that I'm quite proud of because the first question I get is how much more expensive is it to build these types of buildings? Well, actually, we're 1.4% under budget. Our rents right now are outperforming the market by about 15 to 30%. Our exit yields are about 40 to 80 basis points outperforming the market. One that I'm particularly proud of is a 95% user satisfaction rate. The project is about to last 10 years, and our equity investors asked for a 10% return on investment. We're actually right now delivering over 13. So it is a highly profitable project, and I say this because I don't run my business on ideology, and if you do so, you can quickly go out of business. This is a very dangerous thing to get into if you're in the private atmosphere. So from the day one, we always said we wanted to use our business as a catalyst to create that type of change that we want to see. It also promotes the dialogue because we can stick a bunch of money into monuments, put something forward, and everybody gives us a slow clap, and then back to business as usual. So if we really want to create systemic change, we have to do so through the system, not pushing against it. But where do you start? So we started here. We picked 4 areas: water, energy, materials, and biodiversity. Our closed-loop system, they're all integrated through the site. We have a canal. We're Dutch, so that's how we do it. And through our canal, we actually are filtering all of our gray water through reed systems. Those go then back into the buildings. Our energy system is also all centralized. Our buildings are sharing energy loads across each other. There's not a single gas line at the park. We simply removed that opportunity from future investors. Everything is through electricity, and I am proud to say today that at this point we are producing more clean renewable energy than we are consuming, and that's a feat, I can tell you. Our master plan is all about integrated parks and moving people not a day away from their families, but a day with their colleagues. And we are, right now to date, the largest purchaser and supporter of cradle-to-cradle certified materials in the world, and that's something that we work very, very hard at. And we partner a lot with these companies as well. These are materials designed to be healthy, safe, made with clean renewable energy that have a clear water footprint and that don't use any social unfair practices to make them. And so we partnered with a lot of these companies right here because this is where the real innovation lies. Somebody like Shaw or Desso know more about flooring than I could ever hope to know, and so we actually put them in front of the general contractor, and we moved the whole supply chain up into the innovation program in the beginning. And in this way, we removed the zero-sum game where people are actually trying to negotiate with each other and not really getting innovation into the project. And then we identify those in sketch design. We also identify what potential problem areas are. And the last one about Park 2020 is our buildings are actually designed already from day one to be the future materials banks of our communities. They're designed 100% to be disassembled from the day that we start designing them. We're actually designing them to be taken apart, not to go together. And in that way, you inherently answer the question of how it should come together. You're only able now to take it one step further. We are mapping, actually, all of our buildings are designed to be housing. They're offices, but we designed them to be housing so they can easily be transformed into housing should the office market erode in this area in the future. And we can quickly and cost-effectively change them out there to make a new play on the market. And at the end of the use period, we should be bringing these materials back to create the new stock. We track our materials through our BIM models, so we've created technology within our BIM models that say that this is how much steel is in the building, this is where it's at, this is the grade, this is where it goes together, this is how it comes apart. So we have a whole bill of materials over time that a deconstruction company can actually look at and say, okay, this is where I go get that valuable stuff, and we go take it apart. And we've actually included a new model now that took a long time to get together, but we actually don't buy elevators anymore. We do this on a number of ways, but the elevator is the most practical. We lease vertical transport in the building. So we've actually now gone into discussions of ownership versus use. So no longer do we buy elevators, we simply lease vertical transport. But we really need examples, and that's where we can step up. We're practical people. We're practical as an industry, so we really want to get down, roll our sleeves up, and build buildings. That's really what we do best, not sit and talk and debate and all of that. It's important, but we really want to get into the action. So something that we're doing now is the next project. It's called it's called the Valley. It's Netherlands' national showcase project for the circular economy, and it's an exciting project. I'm really happy to share it with you here today, and it's really an example project. This is the total 3.5 square kilometers. The spine down the middle is called the Valley, and that's creating 20,000 new jobs in the Haarlemmermeer. One whole side of the park is dedicated to growing bio-based feedstock that will go into biopolymers and help to feed the biological revolution. The second and the top part is called the Technosphere, and this is the area where we're also putting plants, remanufacturing, repolymerization of textiles, because we're now mixing plastic with fiber, and areas where we're actually starting to bring all of these things back into industry and make new products. Of course, we had to make some choices, so in the Valley we started focusing on chemicals, glass, plastic, metals, minerals, food and agriculture, paper and wood, and textiles, and these are our real focus areas right now. The Valley is at human scale. We're modeling the Dutch farm, and we're embedding it deep into the landscape because this is all about creating human connectivity. The thing that I want to drive home is that nobody rents square meters in the Valley anymore. What we do is rent workstations. And when you're working in the Valley, you're working together at your desk here with 4 or 5 of your colleagues. Government people are working right next to you, schools and universities, your competitor might be working across from you, and it's a really open source collaboration area where we're working on solving circular problems. And this is the business model, and this is quite radical in my industry that I'm going to show you now. So what we've done is to work to strike contracts with large groups of people in the companies over here. We have the land, the infrastructure, the core and shell of the buildings, the installations, the interior, the furniture, and the services. These companies maintain ownership of all of these things. We close contracts with them to do this at a fixed service guarantee that they are going to provide us a level of quality for a given amount of time, and then we pass that along to the tenants, the people, and I mean tenants that are working the rents, the workstations. That comes into the form of an all-in rent, and what ends up happening when you engage in this type of model, you're incentivizing the financing costs to come down, the maintenance costs to come down, and the residual value of these materials to improve. And the reason you're doing that is because the result of this is that the fixed service guarantee for us goes down, that creates a better margin, and we can then pass along to the tenants. And the whole reason that this works is because it stimulates increased quality by putting ownership to where it belongs. So the key elements here are these 3 areas, and in terms of the systems thinking, again, the circular economy is the system in which we're looking to create and build. We also look at sustainability from a systemic approach, trying to find the linkages between all of the different influencers. You cannot look at anything in its one vacuum anymore. Of course, we've also created a huge number of businesses around us, and this is really interesting because these are all the companies providing circular solutions right now. So this is really the supply side of the equation. Now what we needed to also do is book the demand side. And so we went to Amsterdam, the airport, Schiphol, Haarlemmermeer, Hoofddorp, and we said, okay, you all are purchasing and tendering out, like we just heard from government purchasing and tendering. Commit at least 2% of that into circular purchasing, and what we've done now is create over $2 billion annually of revenues to come in. And now people are bidding on that. One of them is that the airport of Schiphol has committed to do the entire interiors of the whole airport in circular economy. That's landed in the Valley, and now we're linking all of these companies on, and this, what we're showing here, is we're mapping out all of the different elements of the interior. And the last part is the physical lab space. So the temporary use of the sites, all of our sites are all about innovation as well. So today maybe they're on agro, tomorrow they're maybe on metals, the day after that they're maybe on chemicals, and I don't mean each day. Think about in times of 10 years, 15 years, but we can start working on different solutions here. So it's all about flexible function also within the sites themselves. So it's about human-centered connectivity, and so we have these connection points to the main plazas, and the plazas are looking like this. They're experimentation squares and innovation squares, and then we bring all the people together. And then from there, we kind of work this hub and spoke. So that's your main innovation square. And then this building is all about communication. That one's about collaboration. This one's about contemplation. And that one's about concentration. And then people can move to different workstations for the type of work that they want to engage in. An interesting question is, how do you plan for serendipity? So the people are bumping into each other and new ideas are really cross-pollinating from industries. And we've done that together with IBM. Again, get people that are smarter than you and empower them. So this is my project. This is what we're working on. This is not just mine, but our entire team. It takes a lot to pull this together. And thank you for your time and attention.